So let me learn you something. The horror genre in comic books is just as important as the superhero genre. It has and probably will continue to hold a special place in comic book readers' hearts. But where did this love for the ghouls, goblins, and ghosts stem from? Just take a look at the 40s and 50s. Back in the early days, publishers like Entertaining Comics or EC Comics produced a buttload of horror titles like Tales from the Crypt, which you probably heard of, The Haunt of Fear, The Vault of Horror, and The Crypt of Terror. And how couldn't readers love stuff like this? I mean, look at these covers. What even is this thing? Look at this one. And what? Regardless, horror comic books are responsible for a lot of things in the comic book industry, like the Comics Code Authority. And if you don't know, the Comics Code Authority was an alternative to government regulation. They approved and disapproved of the comics that got published. Parents and basically everyone were tripping about the blood and guts, so they were like, nah, we're gonna have to check that at the door, bruh. But as time went on, they got more lenient, which was cool, but what was even cooler is that they eventually faded away. And because of that, we got some of the best comics of all time. Incredibly influential horror comics. Like Uzumaki. Seriously, just look up Uzumaki. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Type these words in. Uzumaki panels. Type it in right now. You know what? I got you. Don't even worry about it. I got you. Yeah, take a look at that. Pretty trippy, right? Try reading that when you're 10 years old. Look at this. Look at that one. Can't have that with the Comics Code Authority all over your back, huh? And yeah, I already know Uzumaki is manga. That's not the point I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to say is horror comics can be amazing. And if you're just reading DC or just Marvel or just superhero comics, you're missing out, man. You're missing out on stuff like Uzumaki or The Walking Dead or the topic for our discussion today, which is one of my favorite comic books of all time, Locke and Key, Welcome to Lovecraft. It's the comic book Blerd. Who? Locke and Key, Welcome to Lovecraft is a brilliant, brutal, and emotional comic book. It's not a gore fest with blood and guts just in there for the sake of it. Oh no. By the end of this book, you'll care about the characters. And not only that, it's a genuinely scary, creepy book. There are some scenes in here and some panels that'll keep you up late at night when you're trying to sleep. Or not. Maybe it's just me being a B.I.B.I., but some of this stuff was genuinely creepy. The tension, terror, and emotion that Joe Hill, the writer, and artist Gabriel Rodriguez create is absolutely incredible. You'd be hard-pressed to find a duo that conveys horror, terror, grief, and other emotions as effectively as these two do. But let me stop singing this book's praises over and over again. Let me show you exactly why I love this book. Let me show you why this book is absolutely incredible. So let's start off with the story itself. It probably won't blow you away with its mind-blowing premise. At its barest bones, it's another story about a family trying to survive a home invasion. But Joe Hill executes the story well by adding a supernatural element like demons and magical keys, and truly engaging characters that you can sympathize and empathize with. The story starts off with a flashback that will set the tone for the rest of the book. And it's here you get introduced to Sam Lesser, the book's antagonist. He hides a pistol in his waistband and his partner Al, a hatchet. Sam is looking for Rendell Locke, his school guidance counselor. After he knocks on the door, instead of being greeted by him, he's greeted by Nina Locke, his wife. And if the pistol and the hatchet weren't foreboding enough about the two's intentions, the next page's reveal should do the trick. Next, you're introduced to the three main characters of the book, Rendell and Nina's children. Tyler, the oldest, who lets you know he'd rather be anywhere else in the world. Bodhi, the youngest, who lets you know a turtle just took a dump in his hand. Yes, Bodhi, look it. And then Kinsey, the middle, who tells Tyler to suck it up and make the most out of this trip. I like Kinsey. Next, as the flashback ends, Rendell arrives back home to the hatchet-wielding and pistol-gripping home invaders. And it's here where you get shifted to present day. Tyler is seen at a funeral paying his last respects to a family member. And although it's not explicitly stated immediately, it's heavily implied and eventually revealed that the funeral is for his father, Rendell. It's shown during another flashback that before the kids could get back to the house, Sam Lesser, Rendell's student, shot and killed him. Tyler actually witnesses his father's last moments, and in doing so, accidentally trips and falls and alerts the two intruders. This leads to a deadly game of hide and seek where it's revealed that Tyler and Sam may have some kind of relationship previously built, a relationship that I'll talk about later in this video. But the chase eventually leads to a brawl in the basement where Tyler eventually gains the upper hand using a brick as a weapon, Craig versus Debo and Friday style. Not even joking, that's exactly what it's like. But much of the book deals with the aftermath of this invasion, as well as establishing the rules that this universe plays by. You see, it's not just craziness for the sake of craziness. It gets revealed that there's something more sinister at play here, as the characters are introduced to the magical keys, magical doors, and characters who are really pulling the strings here. But before we go any further, let's talk about some of the supernatural and horror elements of the book. Key House, the home that the Locke family eventually moved to after the initial invasion, and childhood home of Rendell Locke, is shown to have possessed some horrible and powerful secrets. Most of these secrets are revealed to the reader through Bodhi, the youngest child. Bodhi first discovers the ghost key, which unlocks the ghost door, which allows the person going through the ghost door to become a ghost. Ghost. In addition to finding the ghost key in the ghost door, Bodhi also finds Dodge, the characters pushing the buttons and manipulating Sam behind the scenes. It's with Dodge you get some of the creepiest and some of the scariest moments in the book. For example, for whatever reason, when Dodge first revealed himself to Sam was a moment that stuck with me for the past 10 years. I can't really explain why. To me, it's just creepy and something that stood out in my mind. I think it also speaks a lot to how talented Gabriel Rodriguez is as an artist. Even though he has more of a cartoony and exaggerated style, he does a masterful job conveying grief, sadness, terror, and horror. When Nina is forced to kill Al, you can see how scared and terrified she is. When Kinsey's hiding from Sam, you can see how desperate she is to stay quiet. And this is what I mean when I say it's not just showing blood and guts for the sake of blood and guts. You get a great idea of what these characters are feeling and what they're thinking at their most vulnerable and their most desperate moments. The characterization in this book is also done extremely well. Each child in the family gets an issue to show how they're dealing and how they're coping with the death of their father. Bodhi has continuous dreams and visions of his father, gunshot wound and all, hinting at something that he can't quite figure out yet. Kinsey just doesn't want to be the freak at school, but it's eventually revealed through Bodhi and the ghost key that she's dealing with more than that. When she's alone in her room, she's constantly thinking about that very same day that her father was murdered. You get the most character development from Tyler though. Like I said earlier, Tyler had built a previous relationship with his father's murderer, Sam. And although it was a quick conversation, Sam brought it to the forefront. Like most teenagers, Tyler didn't really get along with his parents, his dad especially. After it's revealed that Sam has quite a crappy relationship with his dad as well, he states that he always thinks about killing him. Tyler jokingly replies by saying that he should kill his dad as well. And of course he didn't mean it, but after Sam brought it up during the day of the murder, you can tell Tyler regrets it immediately. He feels solely responsible for the death of his father. He wishes he can take it all back. And the way that Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez display how Tyler copes with this makes for a deeply intriguing and interesting character. And before I end this, one of the things that I'd like to talk about that might get overlooked is the panels. Joe Hill, the writer, uses a lot of repetitive panels in a good way. Some of the best scenes in the book have back-to-back panels that are nearly identical with slight, subtle differences. If you're not careful, you could miss some important details in the repetition of these panels. Slight hints in the changing of a character's emotions or something in the background. Another writer that does this well is Tom King, and for examples, take a look at his current Miracle Man run. It's something that I wish more writers would utilize, because otherwise, some of their panels or pages might look like this. And let me clarify, Brian Michael Bendis is one of my favorite writers of all time. His run on New Avengers is probably my favorite book of all time. So, no hate, just saying. But let me show you a couple examples first. This scene of Sam and Tyler walking up the stairs could have been just one big panel. Instead, it's divided into 3 smaller panels. As the two go up the stairs, you can see Bodhi running from one panel and then off panel. You can also see Tyler's emotion go from hate and anger to immediate regret. Another example is when Bodhi's trying to show Kinsey the ghost door. After his spirit leaves his physical form, his body remains lifeless on the floor. Kinsey, thinking he's playing a joke, grows fed up, leaves, and comes back just to check on him. It's little, subtle things like this that makes these characters just a little bit more interesting and more human and more believable. You might not believe me, but I think I might not have liked it as much as I did if Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez didn't do these panels like they did. But yeah, in conclusion, that's all I got. If you're looking for something more than just a superhero comic book, something in the horror or supernatural side, I think it's safe to say Locke and Key, Welcome to Lovecraft is right up your alley. Again, this book isn't just blood and guts just for the sake of blood and guts. Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez, they make genuinely interesting characters while establishing a genuinely interesting world with supernatural stuff and demons and magic doors and magic keys. So if you're looking for a good read in general, I say pick this book up. Hey, thanks for joining me on the very first episode of Comic Book Blerd. Thanks for sticking around and letting me talk about Locke and Key, Welcome to Lovecraft. Like I said, it's one of my favorite books. If you guys have any ideas of what I can review next or should review next, leave that in the comments below. And it would also be pretty dope if you hit that subscribe button or the like button. You'd be helping me out a lot. You can follow me on Twitter at comicbookblerd or on my website, averagecomicbookblerd.com. Oh yeah, and I write comic reviews for comicbastards.com. You might be able to check some of those out as well. If not, that's cool too. Anyways, I appreciate the help and support. Peace, and much love to you.